Tell us a little bit about The Lost Tribe and what it has been in your experience and your career as a playwright.
Well, I first have to say that this is a miracle, because I wrote this play less than 3 years ago. It was the first play I've ever written, and to come here and see it fully produced, I mean, I remember when I got the email saying I was one of the 10 finalists, you know, I dropped to my knees. I'm a finalist. When I got the email saying you're a winner, I dropped to my knees. I'm a winner! And then I read the small print, it's getting produced. Oh my God, and having only started writing plays a few years ago, I didn't really understand how hard it is to get a play produced. And, you know, I have friends in New York who are playwrights who've won awards, and all they've had are readings and workshops. And this is sort of an unfortunate trend in the theater, is things get read and workshopped to death, and maybe they need to be, maybe they're not finished, but you know, so to have an actual production is really important. You know, you see it in your brain, and I've had a couple of staged readings of it, but it's not the same thing. When you sit in the theater and you look out on the set and you go, wow, I saw something in my head and there's a set. And it's not just actors holding a script, they're inhabiting the characters. It's amazing. So I have just tremendous gratitude to TNT and to the Baytown Little Theater. And you know, so I'm still on cloud 9 here. It's really been amazing. So having said that, I'm not sure really what you want me to talk about. I can talk about a little bit of where the play came from.
Yeah, I like that one. Anything that would spark some questions and some interest in the rest of the group, I'd like them to ask you questions. But yeah, talk about a little bit how
I mean, it's kind of an interesting story, because I used to live in Los Angeles, and I used to have my hair cut in a barber shop on Fairfax Avenue, where the guy who owned it was named Henry, and he had an Eastern European accent. I don't know what his last name was. And you would go in there, and you couldn't make a reservation. You just go in, and whoever was available. And he usually cut my hair. But on this particular day, he was cutting somebody's hair, and there was a second cutter. I think I actually got the third cutter, who was a new guy I'd never seen before. And I sat down in the chair, and I like to chat people up and hear what their story is. And in the course of that discussion, he told me something about his background that just blew my mind. And I realized, oh my God, this is a play. Of course, I was a screenwriter at the time. I hadn't written the play, but I ran to my car, of course after the haircut was finished, and I started scribbling notes. And then I actually wrote a draft of this play in 1998 or 1999, and I showed it to my writers group in California. And you know, it was all the same characters, but it had a sort of a different ending, and a couple of the characters I hadn't really figured out yet. And I put it in a drawer. And then 3 years ago, I took a class in New York, and as I told Kim, it was called Fast First Draft. I didn't tell them I already had a first draft. So every week, it was 6 weeks, I would show up with 15 pages. And they go, this is amazing. Because there were people, they were turning things in, and it was, you know, messy, they didn't know who the characters were. And here every week, and they were amazed, you know, and I'm like, yeah, well, you know, I don't know, I've had this idea in my head for a while. And you know, so I rewrote the play, and on the basis of that, I actually, this is kind of crazy, I quit my day job. Because I've been working at a dysfunctional nonprofit for 6 years, and I'd reached the end of my rope, and I was having a midlife crisis, and I thought I'd saved my money up, and I was going to have another attempt at creative writing. So because this play got such a nice reception in my class, I had a cinematic moment. Because of the dysfunction of this organization, I hadn't had a performance review in 3 years, and they were stringing me along, and so I walked out with no notice. I threw my resignation letter down on my boss's desk, and I left. It was dramatic. It was great.
Linda, don't listen to this part.
We know about that.
And maybe this is too much of a story, but I used to walk across Central Park every day, both directions, to go to the office. And I'd walk across the park, and I worked from like 10 to 7. And at 10 o'clock, I'd be walking across the park, and there'd be all these people riding their bicycles and running. And I go, don't these people have jobs? I want to be them. So at 11 o'clock on this particular Monday morning, I threw my resignation letter down, and I walked back across the park, and I thought, I'm one of them. And so that's a little bit of the genesis and how important this play has been to me. And the other thing I wanted to share with you, apropos of what you're talking about earlier on feedback, One of the first places I submitted this was to a Jewish-themed playwriting contest in Cleveland called, I can't remember what it's called, but it was named a finalist, one of 4 finalists. Wow. And it didn't win, but they sent me a critique, or one of the, I think there was a lot of dispute about which play should have won, and I think one of the judges secretly sent me a letter saying, here's why you didn't win. And he talked about a specific weakness in the play, which I then addressed, and which had to do with the relationship between mother and son, strengthening it. So on the basis of that, I rewrote the play, resubmitted it to that contest the next year. It was named a finalist again, still didn't win. But that draft, I submitted to TNT, I submitted it to Long Beach Playhouse, it won their competition, and I submitted it to a competition in Washington, D.C., where it was the one winner of the Arts Club of Washington National Playwriting Award. So the point being, not just to pat myself on the back, but to say that this play wouldn't have been in that shape had I not gotten really good feedback from the competition, Dorothy Stratton, no, she was a Playboy centerfold who died. Dorothy something. Anyway, why can't I remember? Because I didn't win. I didn't win. I don't care.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, that was very valuable feedback, and so I think it's great to be able to make that available to playwrights, because nothing is perfect, and we always want to improve our work. So.